Ladies and gentlemen, fantastic news. President Trump signs relief bill, government funding bill. Good news on the bill. President Trump tweeted Sunday evening, information to follow. This is Fox Business. President Trump has signed the relief and government spending package, a source told Fox Business on Sunday. Good news on the bill, information to follow. Good news on the bill. President Trump tweeted Sunday evening, information to follow. The announcement came after Trump continued to push lawmakers over the weekend to increase direct payments for Americans from $600 to $2,000 and to get rid of the pork in the legislation. Trump previously stalled a $900 billion relief bill on Tuesday, calling it a disgrace and claiming it has almost nothing to do with the pandemic. Congress found plenty of money for lobbyists, special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it, Trump said. This is a developing story. Okay, so we have President Trump who signed the bill, and he prevents a government shutdown, but the government shutdown, and I'm going to explain something to everyone here. Hit subscribe to this channel. We're on our way now. We're back on our way to 200,000 subscribers, and we'll get there in no time, and it's because of you, and we'll zoom past 300,000 subscribers. I want to thank you all for being on this journey along with me. It's just the next 4 years are going to be very important, and you're going to have to, there's a lot of YouTube channels that you should support, not just this one. And by the way, there's a fantastic channel. So hit subscribe to this channel really quickly. I got to tell you about a fantastic channel and an awesome person. But hit subscribe. We're on our way to 200,000 subscribers. Go to hagoodman.com. You can read my writing on The Hill, The Huffington Post, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, Salon, The Daily Caller, the Roanoke Times. You can see my debates. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is on hagoodman.com. There's a fantastic channel. I don't think he posts as much anymore as he used to, but he does a lot of live streams. It's HB. For my viewers who know HB, he is awesome. And I was watching some of his segments today, actually, and it's hard, and then a word that I don't want to, just the algorithm might go after me, but I call him HB. He's fantastic. And so, HB, if you watch this, I just want to first thank you for years back defending me, because this man, when the wonderful $20 million venture capital people went after me for not covering the DNC fraud lawsuit, which they, of course, would never want to cover, which is exactly why they're against a floor vote for Medicare for all. These people, the biggest racket of all time. It's unbelievable. But HB is fantastic. Subscribe to his channel. He does live streams, and it's hard, and then another word that just hard B, and then you know who I'm talking about if you watch this channel. It's HB is fantastic. So HB, Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. If you watch this, just thanks for being just amazing. And his voice is very important from here on out for the next 4 years also. But ladies and gentlemen, shutdown averted after Trump signed stimulus package. So we'll look at Politico. Congress returns to Washington to salvage stimulus deal. The president hasn't backed off on his demands for a bigger stimulus check. So, this is actually what? This is hilarious. So this was before he signed it. Congress will return to Washington this week with one goal: to clean up the legislative mess of President Donald Trump's making. It wasn't of his making. First of all, there should never have been an option on the table for this country, the greatest country in the world, the greatest economy in the world, for us to shut down our entire economy. That should never have been on the table. There should have been safety protocols. There should have been, you should have listened to the science and all of that, and listened to medical professionals. I agree with all of that. Wear masks. I agree with all of that. But to shut down the entire country's economy and to say, well, we're just going to go ahead No more businesses, no more restaurants, no more this, no more that. You shut down, and then what's his name says, I'm not going to opine on this, but I opine on a lot of things, but I don't opine on that. When you effectively end the United States economy, and it's President Trump and generally Republicans who've said, yeah, let's we had to engage in lockdowns or shutdowns, but let's live again. Let's start life back up again. For Democrats to say this is all Donald Trump's doing, when they're the ones who've pushed to stifle and effectively halt the United States economy under the premise of saving lives, which unfortunately hasn't happened. The worst outcomes, if you go to the New York Times, the worst outcomes in terms of aggregate lives lost and in terms of per capita rates are in Democratic-run states. 7 to 8 consistently for the past 5 to 6 months. 7 to 8 of the top states with the high of the top 7 to 8 of the top 10 states with the greatest number of lives lost have been Democrats. They've also had the highest unemployment rates. The lowest unemployment rates are in red states. Red states generally have had a much better outcome in terms of the pandemic. Look at the New York Times statistics. And you say, well, a lot of these blue states have populations that are exponentially greater than red states. Well, not Florida and Texas have more people than New York, yet they're doing better per capita. In terms of per capita numbers, they're doing much better. And in terms of aggregate numbers, they're doing better. New York and New Jersey, Illinois, Michigan, Connecticut, these have the highest per capita rates. You can look 6 to 8 of the top 10 states in terms of per capita rates or Democratic-run states. I think it was 8 of the top 12 the other day, and 7 of the top 10 in terms of aggregate lives lost, according to the New York Times, and 8 of the top 12 in terms of per capita numbers. So it's Democrats who presided over the worst outcomes. They also have the highest unemployment rates. They also, coincidentally, had the most property damage from very peaceful protests. But you blame President Trump for this when Cuomo in March stated the risk remains low for the people of New York. There's no need for undue anxiety. That's not Trump's fault. They went from impeaching President Trump in February to, oh my God, we have to cease and halt and stop the United States economy for good. And then they said, well, we're going to still help people by giving them, unemployment, which obviously needs to happen. But you see, there's the critical thinking skills. There's like this blind, obedient following called Democratic voters. They're just like zombies. They're like, whatever the experts say and whatever the lawmakers say. And meanwhile, you have governors in restaurants doing their own thing, or congresswomen like Pelosi in a hair salon. I mean, you have this disconnect. What happened to a discussion of a possible alternative to ending the United States economy? So, if you had to end look, I'm not saying categorically it should never have happened for a month or 2 months. I'm saying that it should never really have been on the table for a long-term strategy to combat this pandemic, because you have harmed or ruined or altered the lives of hundreds of millions of Americans, in some cases irrevocably. I don't know how. There are people who are not only experiencing the emotional toll of society shutting down, but there are people who, like, I remember I was taking boxing lessons from an up-and-coming young boxer who was a really great, I went to one of his boxing matches in at Los Angeles, and he won. He was amazing, jumped on the turnbuckle, and it was just amazing. Okay? His life is now put on hold for what, a year more indefinitely. I mean, we like this type of, well, we'll just put society and life and the economy on hold, and there's no end date. We're just going to we're going to put the future of this country into the hands of, a couple people. Anyone who disagrees is a quack. Any doctor or any person who disagrees is an absolute quack, and is beyond what people truly agree with. And they did this with Trump. They do this with Trump supporters. They do this with anyone, by the way, who disagrees. Not necessarily Trump supporters. Anyone of any background who disagrees. I'm talking about any political affiliation, cultural background, any person who disagrees. You have doctors who, there's one black woman who's a fantastic, amazing doctor who stated something different from the mainstream. You better believe liberal media silenced her immediately because they don't care. And they say, "Oh, look at Biden's administration." Yeah, everyone thinks the same. They don't care for diversity of thought. Maybe physical appearance, and if the physical appearance, if you dare hold any viewpoint contrary to the mainstream, oh my God, it's done. It's done. You're done. You're silenced. You're a quack. You're this and that. So I guess there are so many things I can't talk about. So I'm abiding by YouTube policies. So many things I can't say. So many issues that I know if you watch this channel, if you support President Trump, you understand exactly where I'm going. It's not Trump's fault this economy that the world has grinded to a halt, has just completely stopped. It's the fault of people who blindly accept what should never have been accepted in American society. The Democratic-run states have done the worst. And they're the ones who have led this country. We generally, the entire country has had to adopt pretty much everything that Democrats and medical leaders within the Democratic community have conveyed. Yet we still you don't have an entire foothold on it, and Democratic-run states have had the worst outcomes when it comes to the pandemic, and the worst economic outcomes as well. And any discussion that's contrary, like perhaps opening up the economy, is blasphemy. And it's not even so much blasphemy. It's actually not even part of any discussion. The notion of opening up the economy is not part of a discussion. The notion of asking, well, how old are the people? When they say cases are up, well, how old are the people? No, can't talk about it. Can't talk about anything. You can't discuss anything. And so they did a Caligula Biden's son laptop on this issue when there should have been more robust debate. And you had experts in the medical community around the world who disagreed. There are like two multinational international bodies, or one in particular, and then one governmental organization, and then a couple of experts, one in particular, and that's it. It's just the entire, the entire United States economy, just completely within the paradigm of, a certain, entirely within a certain paradigm of thought that you can't. I guess what I'm trying to say is that's not Trump's fault. The suffering that's taking place is not Trump's fault. The governors like Cuomo, the medical experts who continue to change their viewpoints in the beginning of all of this, and now they're actually holding back information. We know because it's they want to wait until people are ready to hear certain things. That's not Trump's fault. We have a world now that we have a world where you can't You can't talk about certain things, but a $20 trillion U.S. economy, the world's number one economy, $20 trillion, 320 million Americans. You cannot discuss opening up the United States economy. And if you do, it's, oh my God, you're the most horrible person on the planet. And it's not like you want to open up the economy and just, not engage in protocol or safety. But this should never have been on the table. And then what Democrats do is they say, look, we're here for you. We're here for you. Look what Trump is doing. It's all his doing. It's like, well, were you ordained by God to shut this entire economy down indefinitely? Do you know the impact on the lives of families throughout the country? Economic impact. Because they're not assured. No, the vast majority of Americans are not going to suffer from the pandemic, thank God. The vast majority of Americans are suffering economically. So that's... You have averted one possibility for one horrendous, absurd, devastating reality that you've condemned 320 million Americans to. Give me your under the guise of saving their lives. So, but again, you can't expect a Democratic Party that has blamed Facebook ads for swinging the election in 2016 without any evidence at all. Where is the evidence for Facebook ads? You can't expect these people to look at a tremendous, one of the greatest crises, one of the greatest catastrophes we've faced as a country, from the perspective of, let's look at this from a rational viewpoint, not a purely emotional viewpoint that's leveled against Trump for political gain. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. President Trump signed the relief bill, and thank God that people are going to get the funding that they need to survive. But we have to open up. We have to get back to normal as a country, because I don't think that this is feasible for the long term. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Thank you.